there are some things I don't want to, I'm being careful here, I don't want to get into the court aspect of how this country has responded to our drone protests. But it is very problematic, and we do need, I hate to put it like this in the drone conversation, but we need more bodies, you know, up there that they are subjecting us to some really questionable type of legal tactics. I'm gonna leave that alone. But I did, about 5 years ago, I want to get this out before I get too nervous and faint up here, but I wrote a poem after seeing some of these strikes, and I voted for Barack Obama the first time. Kind of embarrassed to say that, but it's kind of connected with him. And I'm going to do that right now and then get out of here and get some water. But and I wrote this for Marianne's dad, John Grady, who was an unbelievable activist during the Vietnam era, destroying draft cards and things like that. I think he was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And her brother-in-law, Ellen Grady, her sister's husband, Peter DeMont, okay? And it's called Deadly Makeover. I'm just gonna get some water because I don't want to mess this up. I got one already, thank you. I should have wrote some notes, but it's, it starts out, oh, who are you? Oh, you said you won the election and you sent Bush back to the South. I know who you are. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to start real slow, but here we go. Are you white? Are you black? Are you black? Are you white? Why'd you stick a knife in the back of the Reverend Jeremiah Wright? That was a deadly makeover. And I understand that politics make strange bedfellows, they say, but how much of that game were you planning to play? You won the election, you sent Bush back to the South. Barack. Is that Cheney's dick in your mouth? And I read the audacity of Hope, and you invited me to dare that this shit could be fair, but some time has passed and I feel played like a dope. And I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you because I voted for you, and I never ever voted before. Now you got blood on my hands. You got blood on my hands, man, and you got blood on my door. It takes time to turn this huge mistake. It's such an empty refrain for those that are dead in its wake and the death of our own. Cuts too close to the bone, so we can send in the drones. We can capitalize on our high-tech advantage because collateral damage would be so easy to manage. If the ones that we kill, if they don't look like us, we can still play these fools. We can still keep their trust. We can play them, we can delay them, and we can leave them for dead. We can keep this same monster. We can play them, delay them, and leave them for dead. We can keep this same monster. We need just switch out the head. You said you won the election and you sent Bush back to the South. Barack, what you doing? I'm gonna tell Michelle, you can't unring that bell. Barack, what you doing? Back up. Yeah, I said back up, man. You better leave me alone. I got a dream, and I know you got a drone, and I know when you was in Harvard, you was in the head of the class, and if you do after you drone me, you can kiss my black ass. You said your name is Barack Obama. Barack means blessing, but I'm confessing. It don't feel like you believe in karma. That's it. I should have wrote some notes, I apologize, you guys.
So, thank you very much, James. Next is Mary Ann Grady Flores, 58, a longtime peace activist, grandmother of 3. She has been arrested 3 times with members of upstatedroneaction.org at the 174th Hancock Air Base, at the largest training and maintenance center of Reaper drones. She was sentenced to 1 year in jail for taking pictures from the roadway of others protesting at the main entrance, violating an order of protection given on behalf of the colonel on the base. She is out on a $5,000 bail appealing her case.
Thank you. So before I begin, I wanted to invite people to know that we have a bibliography that's right here on the table. Maybe we can have somebody pass these around. But this is information that would help you to further your investigation about the drones. So, for example, there's one that I'd like to point out towards the bottom. It's the Stanford and New York University Law School clinics. Two professors went to Pakistan and they did a study called Living Under Drones. And it is probably the work that you've been working with them. Have you?
No, our report is separate.
Okay.
It's a separate report called Will I Be Next?
Will I
It
Be Next?
focuses on particular cases. It's actually produced after this report, so it's one of the...
Yours is updated.
Yeah, I mean, the law is not any different.
Right.
Reports, but yes.
So the other thing, there's books, there's videotapes. There is one movie that I would actually like to point out. It's called Unmanned America's Drone Wars. And it's put out by Brave New Films. And it's not on the list, I noticed. So if you would write that down, and you can find it on YouTube. I have found that film to be so condensed, and I actually used a lot of portions of the film, stories of people on the ground from who are drone victims in my testimony during my trials, different trials that both James and many others of us have been a part of. So I just wanted to say that, to begin, say that Hancock Airport, I just flew in and out of Hancock Airport just in the early February. I went down to Puerto Rico, and I just learned that Puerto Rico, in the west end of Puerto Rico, there's a new factory building drones in Moca or Aguadilla, which, and the Honeywell Corporation is the company that's setting up shop there. In a place where the economy is very much oppressed, or suppressed, I should say, and so it's beneficial for Honeywell. And so I would suggest that what we need to do, as we need to do with all weapons and war making, is we need to follow the money, because that will help us understand the bigger picture. And I think, as we had learned in previous wars, a lot of times the war making was justified because of the profiteering that was done. So I just wanted to say at Hancock Air Base, they've recently, in the last few years, changed the name of the air base, which used to be the 174th Flight Wing, to the 174th Attack Wing. And the word attack is actually against international, we're not supposed to attack anybody under international law. So that's a blatant violation. But if you're standing at the road and you're looking up the roadway, and I want to give everybody a sense of what the physical plant looks like. So back there where the camera is, it's that far from the road to the guard shack to get in. And you can't get in until you get to that guard shack, because then there's a big fence, a perimeter fence around the Air Force Base side of things, and probably of the airport as well. But it's two sides of the same campus. So the airport is on one side, where civilians are flying in and out, which I just did, and then on the back side, same place, there are these buildings, and it's the largest maintenance and training center it was the largest training and maintenance center in the world for learning how to fly drones and taking care of them. We're going to show a quick 6-minute video, and you'll be introduced to a drone. But anyway, basically, that's where we have been going. And James shared how he ended up getting involved. I, unlike my sisters and James, who went on this 4-day walk from Ithaca up to Syracuse, I was in the hospital with my mother, who was not well. She's now 87. But this is back in 2011 in April. It was Earth Day and the culmination. And it was also a Friday, so it was a Muslim day of prayer, and it happened to be Good Friday for Christians, and so it was a significant day for many people. And I had friends from Ithaca, former Cornell students, who drove me up. I jumped out of the car, and there was this massive demonstration there that day. And I was very grateful to show up at the end. And I was very moved by the process where there were about 300 people there that day. And some of the footage that you're going to see in the film will show you that day. And we started reading the names of the dead. And we had a little children's wagon. And as we read the names, we laid them into the wagon. And then out of the 300, there were 38 of us that laid down in the roadway up to that, leading to the guard shack. And they're like, I want to just describe this one thing. There's one roadway that goes in, and then there's another road that comes out. And so there's a lot of access. But the police had pretty much filled up a lot of the cars on the one side, and the other roadways where we lay down. And it ended up that we had 38 that stepped into the roadway, and we did not expect that many people. It was a surprise to all of us. But we were there for 10 minutes, and so at this point I would actually like to invite people to come up that I had asked ahead of time. If you could come up to hold I have these little props. So what we're going to do is have a little timeline, and I'll go through what happened. So we started, or I should say others, people from the Syracuse Peace Council began a witness back in 2009. So back here, 2011 is when that big action, the 38 of us getting in the roadway happened. And then in 2012, actually at the same time that Rafia, you were speaking about 2012 in October. What was happening in Islamabad? Was there the big gathering?
I think ours was after.
Okay.
You had come back from
Okay, I actually didn't go. I was not a part of the
It was after
delegation.
because Judy reminded me and said,
Oh, okay, yep. But there were things that happened on the ground in Pakistan. And also, the delegation from Code Pink happened. And it was the beginning of October. People came home, and so 17 of us, we decided, since right in here, there was a time where we were going to do an action. Some people were going to go. But the officials found out about it because they have been infiltrating our emails and the website and all of that. So there is a day that's missing here, and then we decided we're not going to talk about any of this on the phone, and we're not going to do emails. So then this day happened, October 25th, 2012, and we went to the 3 gates, the 2 wing gates, the 2 side gates, and then that main door. And this day was very important, and you'll see issues about it in the film, so I won't go into it right now. This day, 4 months later, October to February, there were 8 people arrested. I was the person standing out in the roadway taking photos of the 8. And maybe I'll have you guys turn around and I'll show you the physical plan of that. So there was 8 and then myself, but I was separate from those 8. Those 8 folks were dismissed. The local authorities charged them incorrectly. And it turns out that the property that goes from the guard shack, it comes out, and let's say this is the lawn, and then you have the roadway, but then you still have the walkway along the road. The property line goes out to the double yellow line in the middle of the road. I'd never heard of that. But that was important because none of us protesters had heard about that double yellow line issue. So I was sentenced in a trial just this last May. May I was found guilty in the trial 2 days. and then I was sentenced to the 1 year in July. And I started that sentence only for 1 week, and now I'm out. So after that, we had, let's see, I think I did something wrong. No, there were 28. I apologize. It wasn't 38. That was the 38 here. But we had 28 people get arrested in 2013 on Earth Day again. And the folks that are from this particular action are still going on trial. The judge decided, unlike these, or judges, I should say, because there's 2 judges in the little local court. The judges had decided, no, they were not going to consolidate the trials like we had in this case, or this case. But they were going to actually, and this case was also consolidated. So in other words, whoever was in the action got to go to trial together. So on this group of 28, there are trials that have been spread out all the way until this April and May, and maybe even June, and then others are being held kind of in the air. This action, December 2013, there were 3 people. They walked up to the guard shack. Actually, I need to say something very important here. Maybe we should show the film, but anyway. This action, there were 3 people. They went up to the guard shack with roses in their hand, a dozen roses, because it was near Christmas time. And they also came up with the war crimes indictment, which I will read to you the list of the war crimes. And then within the week that I got out of jail, another group of 7 people were arrested. There were 8 there, but they refused to arrest the 8th person. And these folks are being held up in the air depending on whatever the appeal is. So can we start the movie right away? How quickly can we do that? Before you start, wait, let me just read, I'm sorry. I want to read the crimes that are being committed. So this is a list that was drawn up by former Attorney General Ramsey Clark, who is, I would consider, a world statesperson. He was the Attorney General under President Johnson during the Vietnam War, and he's now 87 years old, same age as my mom. And so he helped us to understand the chain of command of who's responsible for what's going on with the drones and with the war crimes that are happening. And by the way, I do want to say that there is an explosion of bases that are starting to operate drones from. We have the CIA is operating out of Virginia, and also in Creech in Nevada, Creech Air Force Base. And then there's another Air Force base called White Man Air Force Base. There's a friend of mine, Kathy Kelly, who wrote an article while I was in jail. She's in jail now in the federal prison serving time for bringing a loaf of bread to the, just to the guard shack. Another friend of mine served 6 months in jail, Brian Terrell. Well, Kathy is somebody who's been living in Afghanistan and working with the Afghan Youth Peace Group. And she's been bringing back things like, you see this blue scarf? This is the color of the scarves that the Afghan Youth Group has sent to us. And their hope is that we have a border-free world where there is no war. But I want to make note that a lot of times the young people, especially young people, have verbalized the fact that they're afraid of blue skies, because that's when drones operate most clearly and most easily. And so they prefer a gray and cloudy sky, which is a horrible thing. So the crimes are crimes against peace and humanity, violations of part of our supreme law of the land, and that would be Article 6, Section 2. 3 is extrajudicial killings. Violation of due process is 4. This is something I want to make a footnote on. I said to my jury, thank you for being here. I get to have a trial. I thank the judge, I thank the court clerks, And I said, I get a trial. I get to be alive. Drone victims don't get this. They're considered bug splat. And I wanted to make another sub-footnote, and that is that the software that is used to operate the drones is called bug splat, because that's what the victims are called. Wars of aggression is the other war crime. Violations of sovereignty laws. Killing of innocent civilians. And I have a figure, but I don't have where I got the figure from. I'd heard that for every one terrorist suspect that's been targeted by drones, 49 innocent people are killed. But I can't verify that. The other thing is that when we brought witnesses in to our trials, for example, Professor Mary Ellen O'Connell, she actually came here to Cornell and did a drone debate. And when she got in the cab to go back to the airport at Ithaca, the young man that was driving the cab said, "So why were you here?" And she says, "Well, I was going to be, I was in a part of the drone debate." And he said, "Oh, so which side were you on?" She goes, "I'm not going to tell you. Which side did you hear did better?" And he says, "Oh, the anti-drone person, that was a slam dunk." And she goes, "Yes." Anyway, so Mary Ellen O'Connell, we were leery about using her as a drone expert, and the reason was, my friend Brian Terrell said, how could she have justified using drones in Afghanistan? Because of all these other violations, these violations of international law. And her, because she's an expert on the rules of engagement of war, she said because Karzai had invited Obama and the Bush administrations to come in, that it was legal under those terms. But now she's reversed, and she said all of this is off the table because she learned that cell phones are used to target people. It's not just the chips that James was talking about, but cell phones. So you can imagine a child borrowing dad's cell phone, and then all of a sudden they're bug splat. So now it's off the table. So we can go to the movie, and then we'll finish up real quick.
Doing stuff? Go change your goddamn government. You need to turn that off. I'm really tired of this shit.
174th is a Air National Guard unit, and our mission is MQ-9 Reaper to bring the main mission of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance to the supported unit. Well, this is the MQ-9. You'll see a big bump on the front of the airplane. Underneath this radome would be a satellite dish, a small satellite dish, and that's actually what's picking up the signal. And then obviously reverse routing up through that satellite dish to the satellite and back to the operators wherever they're operating from. We have the ground control station here for the MQ-9. And what you see obviously is a two-person crew, all the systems that are feeding the information to the pilot that he or she needs to get the mission done. Now that we have the MQ-9 mission, obviously we're flying the mission every day in and day out, 24/7. And like you said, the operators leave the mission at the end of the day and they go home. So it has its challenges. They have to kind of compartmentalize that mission that they do at the end of the day.
They're in a war zone. Actually, this is a war zone.
Ground the drones! Stop the wars! Ground the drones!
The use of drones by the United States undermines law. It undermines morality. It undermines U.S. credibility in the world. About 5 years ago, I've been quite concerned about the Reaper drone out at the nearby Hancock Air Base. It's a weaponized robot that not only assassinates, but there's a lot of so-called collateral damage that goes with those destructions of civilians, of unarmed people, of non-combatants.
You want to see doing stuff? Go change your goddamn government. You are protesting me personally. Go change your government. You need to turn that off. I'm really tired of this shit.
Overall, we have an outstanding relationship with the community. Very supportive of the military in general, very supportive of the 174th. There are those that maybe not agree with the mission, but we certainly support the fact that they have their right to communicate their opinions and honor those rights.
Can we talk about Mary and Grady Flores?
I'd prefer not to.
They want to scare people. They want to quell dissent. They don't want us American citizens to know what's going on there. But the opposite effect has happened as a result of this local judge sentencing me to 1 year. I heard it through people at the Syracuse Peace Council, and I was shocked. I'm somebody that has flown in and out of Syracuse Airport. It's hard to imagine that I'm getting in a plane on one side of the airport, and on the other end of the same campus, they're killing people.
Because you do feel like you're very much a part of that operation or whatever's going on. You're seeing it. You're seeing it probably maybe even a little bit better than some manned airplanes. You're hearing everything going on. Everything from the folks on the ground talking on the radios to people back in the op center. So you get very involved in the operation, wherever that is going on.
We went in October of 2012, and it was at that time that 17 of us blocked the 3 gates, the 2 wing gates and then the main gate. So that's when we went before the local judge, and as we were being arraigned and given the disorderly conduct charges and also the trespass, that's when we started getting this order of protection read to us, and it was, who? Earl A. Evans. Obviously, this is a law that is for domestic violence, sexual abuse order, and it says that language right in the order. I'm not allowed to sexually abuse or molest the guy. But the last line says, I can't go near his place of employment. We went back to the base. I had not intended to violate my order of protection because I was taking photos of them from the roadway. It turns out that the base property goes out to the double yellow line of the middle of the road, and so I was arrested.
This order of protection represents a version of not only mine, but all of our constitutional rights, every one of us that goes to the base.
It is the sentencing judgment of this court that you be sentenced to a period of 1 year at the Auditorium County Correctional Facility with credit.
And I'm out on appeal right now. I'm not sure what the rest of the process is, but I'm out for the moment. And depending on the appeal, I may be going in to finish the sentence. All of this quibbling about the base boundary is just a huge distraction. The main issue here is the crime of the murder going on from within the base. We have a right to dissent, and the military does not have a right to just shoo us away. So we go back. So consequences rose as we went back to the base. So on this date, by this time I was threatened with a year in jail because I had, I was walking in where you would do the crosswalk, where you would cross in a crosswalk. Now these folks were, they were not only given the violation charges that these folks were given, but they were also given obstruction of government administration. which means 1 year in jail. So it's a misdemeanor. It's not just a violation, not just 15 days in jail max. Then Mark, one of the three, the other two were let go, and I don't know what the technicalities were. There were two Yale divinity students that had come with our friend Mark Colville. He was threatened. The morning that his trial began, the judge said, what did he say? He said, if you're found guilty, I'm going to sentence you to the max possible. And so because Mark had a violation of his order of protection, which was 1 year, plus he had the same charge, obstruction of government administration, plus the two violations, trespass and disorderly, it could have been, if you did it consecutively, it could have been 2 years and 45 days in jail. And Mark said, why? He said, because I think you deserve it. This is the mentality of these judges in Syracuse. And then soon after I got out of jail, there were 7 more people, many of them who have orders of protection. They went anyway. So thank you all. I'll let you guys sit down, and then I'll just finish up 2 more sentences. I just want to say that we have all these trials coming up. There's 4 people going on trial on the 9th, 10th, and 11th. Their lawyer was able to bring in, get the 4 of them consolidated into one trial. 83-year-old Cynthia Bannis. Oh, by the way, we've got a lot of elders. 93-year-old Jerry Berrigan showed up in his wheelchair to be arrested. And our local fellow Catholic worker, Mary Lair, is going on trial on May 27th, 28th, 29th. Professor Harry Murray from Nazareth College up in Rochester will be June 11th. Oh, sorry. Yeah. All right. So just that we have a number of people, about 10 people on hold on appeal. So you're invited to join. We can talk about what you're invited to join afterwards. But thank you. Okay.
It's going to be the question and answer period. Just feel free to, I guess, hold your hand, we'll pick you, and you can just stand up and ask a question.
Guess we answered everything.
Yeah, please.
What was the hardest thing about going to Pakistan and just coming into contact with people who basically suffer the brunt of our foreign policy? Was there any particular moment that was most gut-wrenching?
Not one. Before I left, while we were in the air, when I got on the ground. Finally, when we got to Islamabad, there was maybe 100 people in the airport, and they were throwing rose petals for us. It was a demonstration against drones that they knew we were coming. And for Rafia Zakaria, she's a teacher that has been imprisoned and something under really questionable circumstances. There was some kind of encounter at one of these bases where, they take people and torture them and stuff. And they brought her out with 4 or 5 military guys. She was shot 2 or 3 times, and one of these officers was shot also. I don't know if he was killed. I thought he was shot also. And they said this woman, and she's really small, had attacked him. But anyway, when we first got there, understanding what our drone policy is and that American exceptionalism, that we feel we can do things to different people or other people that we would never tolerate being done to us. And, talking about how we spend blood and treasure, but we spend blood and treasure to get more treasure. And usually it's people that don't fight that get the treasure. The people that fight end up getting messed up. And they don't get the treasure, but we brag about, the American exception. So, going to a country where these kind of policies and violations were being exacted on a daily basis was a bit concerning, but we kind of knew what we were going into. There were threats as we traveled to Waziristan on the road. They told us at certain times we had to pull curtains, and a lot of it was because they were American women, and they would put the headpieces on, but anybody that wears a headpiece could see that it was not put on in the correct manner. So they were making an effort, but it was obvious that this was somebody from not here. And we were told we may be targeted because we were an American group. And for those reasons, there was concern. But the response of the people was so humble. It really, really was. They were so welcoming and so warm. I almost had a feeling about how a rock star must feel when they, you know, come out and people just get all excited just because they're there. They were unbelievably gracious. We would be in demonstrations. We were in a demonstration in Islamabad. It just happened organically. It just started up. They were saying, drone humbly, Makaro, or that's close to it. And you know, I was saying it along with them. You can get most of the phonetics, you know, in the rhythm. And some people came and said, oh, you're from America? And this lady said, I have a restaurant. I'd like you to come to our restaurant. And it was really, it was on the day that some people got arrested here because we were in the bus and we were getting ready to go to the restaurant, and it came over on my phone and a couple other things that, was it 10 people? I think 10 people had gotten arrested at Hancock, and we cheered in the bus. And